Today is October 21st, 2020. New insights into the paranoia being foisted by the CDC and Interbank, people around the world, for profits for the Interbank Group out of Switzerland. Basically, there has been a test made for the SARS-CoV-2 virus that would cause the flowering of it into a disease called COVID-19, which should have normally such a thing should have symptoms, which apparently this does not, or has so many that we don't know which it does have. But these are the antigen tests for the CoV-2. This does not indicate an active infection. Disease does not act. The difference between an infection and a disease, the infection merely means that a virus has entered your body and there are antibodies being produced. It does not mean you have a disease. According to medical definition, a disease is when you have the flowering into the conditions where it produces symptoms. An infection does not produce symptoms. It merely says the existence of the molecules of the virus are within you, and so you can have an antibody test for the virus, either the CoV-2 or the COVID-19, and those have been done. They say that the infection of SARS-CoV-2, as though this is somehow significant or deadly or worthy of, it should be stopped being spread. There's no indication of this. They have no test for the infectious period. They have, and see, it sounds like you get the disease. They say the infectious period. Well, the infection, again, is simply the introduction of the virus CoV-2 into your body. It does not cause symptoms. That it's a time when the body produces antibody, and that's good for protection. An infection with a virus does not mean there's going to be a disease condition produced. And this has not been demonstrated with COVID-19. Now, with over 40 million positive tests for CoV-2 and COVID-19, we do not have a list of symptoms. The CDC does not have a list of symptoms. You see here a list of some symptoms that it may have, and also the Wang list of symptoms that it may have. And why is it that there's no definitive list of characteristic marker for COVID-19 if it exists? In reality, over 40 million. And we don't have one definitive marker for it. Not one. The mumps, yes. Polio, yes. Ebola, yes. Chickenpox, yes. Smallpox, yes. Shingles, yes. And it didn't take 40 million to get those. We have no definitive marker for the disease COVID-19. Why is that? This is very convenient for the CDC to promote fear that you can have this and not know it. I don't believe them anymore. I believe it's a fear-mongering tactic to put money in the pockets of Interbank, because that's exactly what's happening. It's shutting this fear, this ambiguous fear, this unfounded, you can't put a finger on anything with COVID-19, you know? It's got no symptoms here, and it's got no list of marker symptoms there. And so they say that, well, it's causing deaths in the hospital. However, I would like to see the electron videogram of the dynamic interaction of a COVID molecule somehow destroying a normal cell in the human body. Now, you can do that with pneumonia. You can do that with other viruses. You can see how it interacts and how it destroys. This has not been demonstrated with COVID-19, and they have no symptom. In other words, if there were a symptom, one symptom, like fluid in the lungs, you could watch a COVID molecule of the virus attacking a mucus cell in the body and making it produce fluid. This could be demonstrated and seen in a video. This hasn't been done because they can't. They don't have a symptom that they can say definitively is from the COVID-19, the flowering of the disease from the infection of the SARS-CoV-2. You see, they don't have it. They do not have it. They do not have a symptom of COVID-19 that they can say that this is a symptom, and they can show the mechanical interaction with the body that shows a destruction of the health of the human body. Polio, yes, they can do that. Pneumonia, yes, they can do that. Why is it after so long, in 40 million testing positive and interactions with COVID-19, they can't do that? Because it doesn't exist. I'm saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying COVID-19 does not exist in a destructive form. You can have things that are benign. And it seems like, according to all information that we've got right now, is that the SARS-CoV-2 manifestation into the COVID-19, that there's no destructive properties on the human body of COVID-19. Yes, it produces antibodies. A lot of things produce antibodies, and they're simply not destructive. They're benign. There's a lot of benign things. CDC and the medical community has not demonstrated one, not even one, symptom that is definitive to COVID-19. Not one. Because if they did, we could see the mechanical and the biomechanism of interaction of it with the human body in its destructive processes. They have not demonstrated one out of 40 million now. Okay, I no longer believe them at all. I'm calling on them and the medical community to so demonstrate that COVID-19 has any destructive mechanism, and to prove it with an electron micrograph. I can't see any destructive symptom of COVID-19 that causes any health problem in the human body. It has not been demonstrated. There is no list of these symptoms. There is no definitive list. You see, there's different lists, and some of the lists come and go. Some of the symptoms come and go. This is not medicine. This is paranoia on the part of the CDC getting money into the Interbank people, because that mechanism is there. That clearly is there. This vague thing where you can't know if you have this disease, and they can attribute all kinds of diseases to it because people allow them to, because nobody's looking into the biomechanical mechanism of the symptom, and because you can't name any symptoms definitively. See? This is why it can't be done. And so this paranoia can be foisted on the world at large, and the world leaders are just paranoid because they don't know any better. They can't think about this like this, apparently. This is shutting down the economies around the world, and the governments are having to borrow money, and many of the governments have central banks installed by the interbank people who manipulate and regulate for their own profit at the expense of the countries, just as the Federal Reserve is doing in the United States still and again, and is obviously on the track to get to China's wealth. Obviously, I've gone over that in other videos. And at this point, I have to say that I don't believe the coronavirus, COVID-19, exists in a malignant form, in a destructive form. I see no indication of this. I see no proof of this. They've had 40 million cases that have tested positive according to their tests, and they can't demonstrate a list of definitive markers at all yet. And this is totally abnormal. This is totally bogus medicine.